anything that women did, they say, oh, is this Beijing? For me to put it in a positive light, that shows that people have become aware of the issues to some extent, and aware that there are issues. One of the things that the Beijing conference wanted to emphasize is that women's rights are human rights. It came to that point. So there was a lot of recognition of women's human rights, and there were commitments by government. That conference had, I think, about 145 governments in attendance and a total of 17,000 participants. And they raised 12 critical areas of concern that span education, decision-making, violence against women. Let me not name all the 12. And that formed the platform for action. And governments began to be aware, and the media, which is a critical area of concern, also became so much aware and involved in raising awareness about this. And I credit the Nigerian media a lot for the work they have done over the years, just raising the things around social justice, around women's rights. And therefore, we have a way to even begin to, to understand, first of all, and then try to surmount the numerous issues around women's human rights. If you look at
let me pop in a bit here, Doc.
Yes.
Whenever they say women's rights, most times people just take a look at it as if they want to come and override the authority of the men, override the authority of their spouses, and so on. But you were deliberate just now to add women's human rights. Can we really spell out what is being talked about when it's referred to women's rights? What are we really looking at?
Okay. In the universal rights, there are some countries and there are some communities that don't regard women as full humans. A full human being will have the right of life. Let's start from the basics. We have the right of life. We have the right to determine what will happen to themselves. And we have the right to speak up and be represented. And we have the right to have full use of their opportunities. That is, for instance, if you say that education is a right and it should be for a human being to self-actualize. So to say a woman is also a human being and deserves to have that right and should have that right to reach the maximum of her potential, to be able to contribute to the society that she is in, and to be able to live freely without being beaten up at the slightest excuse or being killed. As in some context, for annoying a man, you can get killed. It's called honor killing. So there are so many issues, and they are contextual. While they are broad, those 12 areas, in various countries and various contexts, some are more prominent. And I'll give you an instance. In some of our contexts, one loses her husband, she automatically is assumed to be his killer, and they make her go through some horrendous rites, such as drinking water that was used to wash the cups, and eating with broken plates, and shaving her head forcibly, and just dehumanizing. In some places, the woman has to go through a mass rape to prove whatever. So, what is a human being like a man? God made us in his image. He made us male and female with unique giftings that the world can benefit from if we recognize that even though you are female, that you are a full human being. So that's what is meant by that.
Joseph has a question, but before then, let me just follow up a bit on this you just talked about. Very sad to hear that some people even pass through, in quotes, group rape to prove not be me killed my husband, while some have to sleep with the cops. Brings me to the point where we find a lot of young people now, especially if you're in the Twitter space, you find them that they have one feminism thing going there. Chimamanda Adichie had told some of them that your brand of feminism that you guys are practicing is actually wickedness against men. This is not what versus feminism. Where do they meet? And where are we getting it wrong right now, especially the younger people?
They are going to lose from it or whatever, because the real definition of feminism is exactly what I have told you, that a woman is a human, that a woman is a human being and has rights, just like a man. That is what feminism is about. But of course, people will, when those who disparage feminism talk about it and say it's about killing men, it's about all this, what do they say about some of these things that dehumanize women? What do they say about that? So it's not, let's put the definition aside. Of course, there are people who are going to abuse any relationship anyway, men or women, who will not relate properly. But to use that as a definition of feminism is what I'm against, because that's not what feminism means.
Because
feminism
sorry, ma.
The woman.
Okay, sorry, ma. Before you finish that thought, let me give you another example. If you go on Twitter, for instance, the younger ladies, if you see another female writing there that, oh, I cooked for my husband before leaving the house, oh, I got married, oh, this and that, they'll start lambasting the person, that you are demeaning yourself, cooking, this and that. That is the type of idea some of the younger females seem to have about what this is supposed to be about.
Okay, maybe people overreact. Because again, why would you come to the social media and talk about what you did for your husband? That beats me. Because in some of those, in some homes, the man is quite happy to do the cooking. And there's nothing, if he cooks better, why not? So the idea of coming out to compare what you did with your husband, for me, is the problem. The issue is, do I have a relationship that is mutually respectful? Do I have a relationship where this person wants the best for me? And it doesn't, the details of it is less important. And I think that every human being deserves to have the skill for self-care, and that includes cooking. Everybody should be able to cook. Everybody should be able to drive. Those are basic skills. Whether you are come and tell you just for social media hits, oh, I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. It may not be what, you know how these things, like pictures are painted and all of that. I would advise that people do not live off that they concentrate on working to become their best selves, and therefore to be the best partner complementary to what the other person would come with.
Right.
So not looking for a man, not looking for a cook. If you want a cook, you employ one. It's not necessarily your wife that will do the cooking. Not necessarily. Not if it doesn't work. Assuming your wife is doing a certain kind of job that is not convenient to not promote her for her to be doing the cooking, you can employ a cook. Or you cook yourself. It doesn't take away what makes you a man. So all the focus on who does what in the house should really be left to the couple to see what is best for them and work accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, ma, let's look at women in power or decision making. Sometimes maybe those are women that are head of organization or head in position. People, if there's a mistake there, they will ask the man, don't you know that it is woman that did that? It's as if we assume a woman.
I didn't understand that. The woman has the right to make a mistake.
No, that is in a woman's nature to just make a mistake. You know, saying a woman, we're driving, oh, now woman. In the area of decision making between that 1995 till now, has there been any major improvements the way people look at women in power, in leadership? For instance, even in our Senate, we have only 4 women there right now out of 109 or so.
Hello? Absolutely. Okay. I think you've hit the nail at the head, because that's the greatest issue. And I think you've mentioned what is behind it. It is all this, the cultural discrimination and attitudes that people have. Like you mentioned correctly, somebody drives, I once had a driver that he would, when he sees somebody driving by, say, "Nah, woman." And when we turn around, he's a man. So the ingrained cultural thing is holding us back. And indeed, Nigeria is, very sorry to say, the worst in even in West Africa. You know, you need to have minimum of 30% representation of women in decision making, because that's how you have what is called a critical mass. When you are in the room, you don't feel like it's just you alone saying everything, like in the boardroom or whatever. So 30%. The African Union adopted that. Every country in West Africa, except Nigeria, has achieved that. Nigeria has 4%. Nigeria has 4% and has been retrogressing. Because remember, in 2015, before this last election, we had 7 women in the Senate of 109. Now there are 4. And with the sort of things we're seeing, with the sort of behaviors, the sort of attitudes, it's anybody's guess what will happen, because it's a totally unfriendly and pejorative environment for women to operate in. They make it so difficult for the woman to be there. We saw what happened in the Senate recently. And other young people are looking at that. Young women are looking at that. Do I want to, if I really am defining representation as working for the people, do I want to go through this? Unless, of course, I'm going there to get, quote unquote, my share of national cake. I'm not going there to beg. But if I'm going there to work for my people, and I'm having to face all these personal attacks and the demeaning attitudes, do I want to do that? So that's the issue. And Nigeria must begin to address that, because we are dragging Africa and the whole world down. We are 4%. All of West African countries have achieved 30%. And in fact, countries like Rwanda have gone over 50%.
Why do you think this is so?
Is this thing that, is this thing that you mentioned now, is this idea, this entrenched idea by both men and some women, I'm not excluding women, of thinking that a woman cannot cannot be in decision making. And each time you rise up there, somebody says, "Oh, have you cooked?" I mean, it's so puerile. How has food become such our government? How has it, in every way, you're talking about eating? Is that what we came in this life to do, to eat? So you look at, like now, we are without electricity for X number of days, and so much has been put in it. Who is bringing solution to that? Why are we focusing on things that are not important? Why are we not solving the real problem? The world is moving forward. Look at the digital development in all the world. People are doing AI, developing things, funding things, and we're talking about eating. So mostly men, but also some women, would find a way to make her authority not, to water it down.
Okay, conference in 1995 and 30 years down the line, we're still looking at it. I know Joe has one other points from there that he wants to look at, but let's remain with this a bit and go back to the House and the things currently happening. When Senator Kingibe spoke, she said that there are just 4 women. Yes, the place is not very friendly, and they know that as few as they are, they had to behave themselves, and that women should know that when they are in places, they must obey rules and so on and so forth. So there is that fear that we not plenty, or make we mind waiting with they do. Does that not reduce the quality of what these women can put forward? Does that not reduce the level of in quote fight they could put in at every point to have their voices heard?
You talked about having a critical mass. You say you must up to 30%. If you have only one man in a group of women, he'll be muted because of that dynamics. And we are not addressing it. We are thinking around issues. You see, every subset of groups, and especially women, will have an idea of what they can do. If you look at parliaments, let's say in the Nordic countries, where you have equal numbers of men and women in their parliament, you will see that the issues raised are more rounded and focused on what the people really need. So now, what I think is, like in the Senate or in the House and in every representation, we've never said in the House, okay, let all the best men. In the same way, you look at the constituent numbers, those who makes up the country, and make sure that they are represented. You need the women, you need the youth, so that you can have a broad idea and perspective on things that would then, impact on the people. So yes, the women, if they are that few, become muted. They cannot be their best because they are.
Let's look at women and poverty. What do you think we can do to ensure that women equally have equal opportunity in terms of economic resource empowerment or advantage? If you look at many states that have Ministry of Women Affairs, the way they deploy to buy grinding machine for the woman that will kill the eardrum of the woman and so many other things. So what do you think we can do to ensure, when you say women empowerment, it should be a woman that will be empowered like you, not the woman that they will buy grinding machine or...
It still boils down to representation. If those women were in the village woman that she doesn't know anything, yes, she does. She knows a lot. If you bring her to help you design that, you will find that it will be the thing that meets her needs. So we still come down to who are making those decisions, who are designing those things. Not even because people are so educated. You work with them to design it. You have the best. What they call empowerment, I just laugh because, again, we throw around all these things. Empowerment means that person that you are trying to raise their status is part of your design, is part of your planning, and is part of the implementation of whatever you think you are doing. Otherwise, you're just doing it for yourself. There's been one of the things that Nigeria has done so well is to do policies, and we sign up to these policies, but we haven't included the people that we're doing it for in both the planning and the implementation, and that's where we need to go next. And if I may go back to that decision-making area, if we could pass the gender and equal opportunities bill, it will also be a tool that I'm not looking at only the senior. I'm looking at a lot of the action is coming next if the funding moves on to there. So we need to have the women at the local level deciding what it is that they really want and working, going with them to the things that they're already doing And, the idea of always saying women, think about small business. Women can do big business if in that locality we are bringing the private sector to work with the women in the local area and build their skills and partner with them to ensure that they're having a broad, they're having off-takers, they're having people who they can plan with in their agri, in their skills, in all of that. Then they can grow into big business people.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Mainland 98. Some of the basic areas that were touched, how far Nigeria has gone in implementation, and if we've even met expectations of the world from us Nigerians. And she just talked about empowering the women and the fact that it's not just looking at them from the small level. And she referred to the fact also that she had worked with women at a point and it showed her something. Let me take her back to that piece now, but at this point, I'll quickly let you know that she founded the Women's Leadership Group, WLG. It's an organization that focuses on issues of gender equality and women's political rights. This was in 1998, and she's still, working with that. And right now, she's off and on as a director, one of the directors part-time basis of the WLG board. Now, this is the part that I'm bringing us to, the fact that she has served her local community. I'm going to pronounce it. You correct?
You are perfect.
Oh my God, I'm going to buy myself water when I'm done.
Yes.
So she worked with them in numerous capacities, including being the president of the Iṣiwozuitem Women in Lagos, and working with them earned you a Lifetime Achievement Award and all that. What did you learn working with these women at the grassroots? Because you've been doing a lot of these things at the international level, from this country to that country. Now you stepped down to that, should I call it home level? You've mentioned some things already. Break it down further, because the government, I'm sure, could do more in empowering the women to do more than what they are doing right now.
Absolutely. I think our government and our government, and when I say government, I'm not looking only at the highest level, but at lowest levels as well, do not have a good sense of what women in the local areas are doing. There is a lot of value in finding out, first of all, what are the women in that local area doing? And it is only them that can tell you. We sit with them and not sit with them as, you are now assuming the role of expert. That they are the experts. And listen to them and hear them out, and then you can put your own ideas. But usually their own ideas, from my own experience, are very great for the context. You can then shape it and maybe scale it or whatever, but must listen to them. So with the women that I have worked with in the local area, my role is really to sit and listen and say, how can we do this better? And they will tell you, and then we'll work together. And they will they will tell you where there will be issues, and you work with those issues. So long as you're not assuming, okay, because I have a PhD, I'm the expert here. It doesn't work that way, because they know more than me in many of the things that concern them. And that's the attitude that I would like for every government to adopt. There are organizations of women in every local area. Go to them, find out what they're doing, and what do they want to do, and what they need to do those things, and then support them on those bridges. That's what I think will work. Thank you.
Okay, let's look at the issue of domestic violence against women. and equally sexual harassment, and is on the increase almost every time. So what can we do to eliminate or reduce that?
Because it's part of what ought to have happened, ought to have done that.
Yes. I think that, and this is where I give the government credit, since Benji. They have, we now have the violence against persons prohibition. Mind you, this is against persons, not just women. Mm. And I then credit Lagos for doing great job, along with the many vibrant non-governmental organizations who are working, and they are quite a few, who are working, doing amazing work with, first of all, reporting. And this is where you may be hearing more, because there's more reporting of it as opposed to before people. And then there are legal instruments to actually tackle people who are violating both men and women, the domestic violence and people. And then the media, including the social media, is playing a lot of great roles in exposing people. Before people could do all this violence and get away with it. But now most people just point their camera, record it, put it in this thing, and then so that's we should actually see that as improvement. But talking about how do we prevent it, I always come back to the person, because it is human beings who beat other human beings. There are no ghosts involved. So it's before you decide you are beating somebody, you have already in your mind, love you, baby, you are my all in all. You start beating the person. So people probably will need, and I think some of the centers provide anger management training or whatever. But that legal angle is very important, that people know they cannot do it and get away with it. I think that every office, as a matter of harassment, we may want to deny it, but it's a lot of entitlement that men have, many men have, or that you can stare at a woman and when you stare, your mind begins to tell you to do more than staring. Incidentally, when I worked in Senegal, I don't know how they did it, and it's a Muslim country, but they are not Muslim in terms of the powder shape of Muslims. But I noticed that, when you pass a group of men, watch out how they look at you. I didn't experience that in Senegal, but in Nigeria, I passed a group of men, and all of them, there's a way they stare. I think it is important that people train themselves, and I'm speaking to our men here. Train yourself to not do that, even if you're in a culture where that, as a group of young men, you see girls, you talk about them disparagingly, you talk about, their bodies and all of that. It's a mindset. And when that becomes a habit, you now do that in your office. I heard, for instance, when the Senate president said, nobody, with this thing now, no man will be appointing women as whatever. And I just said, please. So we're not saying, okay, if we are doing women a favor, and it's always a man who will be there appointing, let there be criteria. But on the whole, it's going to be a personal work. In each office, have procedures that prevent harassment, sexual harassment. Document this and provide a space where people can report things to you. Not when they report, then they get into trouble. Mm. So it's a hard work. And all of us are related to women in one way or the other. It's either the woman is your mother, which I hope everybody, they are not test tube men. And you have your sisters, you have your daughters. So we are all one. And to the credit of many men, this thing that has happened in the Senate, they spoke up. And we want men speaking up. When you see these things, when you see your friend talking badly about a woman or behaving in that way towards it, because it starts all in the mind, you should intervene and say, I don't want to be part of this joke.
Right.
This is not true. You need to confront, and then we punish when people have been judged to have overstepped.
All right. We'll be wrapping up shortly. Thank you so much for your time so far. We'll end this by looking at the media and the women. One of the things they put on the table to work on would have been, and is still, promoting a positive and non-stereotypical portrayal of women in the media. Have we succeeded in doing that? For instance, if we take a look at the entertainment industry today, if you take a look at the social media, the way the young ladies and even women themselves are presenting themselves to the world, the way they are being presented to the world, it's around if we haven't achieved a positive mark in that area.
Thank you so much. The media is so critical in this equation, and now we have when we had the regular print and broadcast media, there was a bit more organizing around that. The social media has made it a lot more difficult to get some training around that. But anyway, as part of Beijing, part of the Beijing preparatory meetings, we had a West African Media Network connecting media people who were reporting on that and basically helping them to understand the implications of their reporting. I think that needs to still go on, that journalists need to be trained and help, because when you're in a context, you may not fully appreciate how you are seeing things unless somebody helps you to see that this is wrong. Okay, presenting women as page 3 girls is fun. But if you understand what now happens, how that demeans women, maybe you will stop it. So again, it is people who are behind media. When people change, when people's perception of women change, the way they present themselves and women will change. So for those working in the media, I just encourage you to keep doing good work on representing women as people who have a gift for the world, whose perspectives we need for the world, who are not just things, objects to please men, but are full human rights, full human beings who can contribute to society, who already contribute to society, who need to be honored for the good work that they do, as opposed to being presented in the way that they are often presented. So I would I would suggest capacity building for it to be continuous, and for people to be called out when they air. The media needs also to call out its members when they air. I don't know who will call out the social media people, but then people also call out people on the social media. Like they will say, if you see something, say something. If somebody has done a bad job, say it. Maybe next time they will think twice before making that presentation, whether of themselves or of others.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You wanted to say one last thing?
Just a last one. Is I was working in one company, and whenever we collect salary, our secretary, his salary is more than almost like double of our salary. But if we collect salary, we ask everybody, "What are you going to buy for me?" Is it? What would be your advice to a woman that engaging in that you collect salary more than the man, but you still ask the man to spend part of his small salary for you? Is that making up the woman?
It's a gift. What?
Is that what? I will want to. It's very interesting. What's the relationship here? What are we doing? Is it? Is she so sing? What is behind that?
Yeah.
I think that people, those are individual things. That person is just being greedy and being foolish, if you ask me. So I suggest that you tell one of her friends to tell her to stop it because it demeans her.
Yes.
That would be my private advice. But it's not something. This is not a general thing, so to speak. This is just somebody being silly.
Dr. Nkechi Eke Nwankwo has been our guest. She is a gender and women's economic empowerment specialist. We've told you more about her earlier on, and I'm believing that the session we've had has opened our understanding to more things. That Beijing in 1995 wasn't a waste. The only thing now that we need to do is to ensure that we implement those things that we said to the fullest level. A woman's right is not going to be your problem. You shouldn't worry that if a woman deserves equal.
Yes, thank you. It was a joy to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for all that you do. Have a good one.
Have a good one too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, City of Lagos. How are you doing? I hope you're good. Let's take a quick breather and then we will join you the last few minutes before we go. right, 98.3. You know the number already. If you don't, Joseph is going to tell us the number. Joseph, I bet no call her though. You called her last week. Like, say you never chop.
You did not give me the rules.
The rules.
The rules. 410. I no pass. I'm trying to
your community development officer will call you. This kind of thing they do now. Do I look like your mates? Are you talking to your mates? Yeah. Now that brings me to that issue. The number again is 0913-6000410. It brings me to the issue of how we correct people here in Nigeria. Let's talk about Nigeria. Not talk about into rain, fire, and brimstone.
Hold it down.
That is not persuasion. We all should learn the act and art of persuasion. To help people change their perception of things, you need persuasion. And persuasion doesn't come as fight. Immediately you bring them as fight, the person will be up in arms to also defend themselves, and there is not going to be any progress. If the madam had called that young lady and be like, my dear, I saw the post that you made. How are you this morning? Have you been able to get something to eat? I hope you're no longer crying. No, ma, I'm fine. But my dear, are you aware that as a core member, you're not supposed to go online and be saying all those type of things that you said? It's not supposed to be like that. That is not part of it. You know what? You see me in the office. Let's talk about it. Let me see how we can help you and your other colleagues. And I have to explain to you people some of the do's and don'ts in case they didn't tell you in camp. Wallahi, will the girl record something like, even if they record it and put it, would somebody say, threats this, would that person's mindset not shift a bit to the direction you want it to go, Jaden, wouldn't it? Even though sleep they catch Jaden, no, he himself don't hear. Anyway, I hope we'll learn, Sha, because yes, let's go. Hello, good morning. Okay, when you do
I can guess
camp. Yeah, well, sorry, we're trying to get you to be on the line. Just hold on a little while. Is that sorted now? Hello, how are you? Good morning.
Yes, I'm fine. Good morning, Lady C.
Good morning. How are you? Go ahead.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
No, you're loud and clear. I think it's my head can that's deceiving me. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
Actually, your guest presentation after the Beijing 95, there are resolutions and all that they say should happen to women, all equal rights, so to say, the quota of women in politics. And now, my question to her is, with what is happening today in Nigeria, in our National Assembly, I'm trying to refer to Natasha Boti's and Tğᴇ. I needed to ask her whether her organization can stand up for women, for girls. Then if that would be okay.
Igbo government, Peter Obi said,